What does it mean to be raising your vibration into higher levels of consciousness? The 5D, for example. The soul incarnates through various densities, the physical, emotional, mental, and karmic. And as it does so, it tends to fragment. This is where the soul is getting attached to physicality, for example, or in relationships, or conditioning from society, or from our childhood. As the soul fragments, what then happens is that it creates identity. An identity that is plugged into the matrix, the society in which we live. The vibration of your beingness is associated, identified with the physical densities in life. For example, it might attach onto physical, existential matters, where it's concerned about attachment, loss of material goods, or material wealth, or material support. Or it might fragment around emotional issues and relationships. When a relationship breaks down, for example, and there's a sense of loss or grief about that. Or it might attach on the plane of the intellect due to conditioning of society and our upbringing. Or else it could be the karmic plane, where we are reliving or re-engaging past life experiences. This fragmentation causes currents of consciousness to form, and what you might call a lower self ego identity. And this then determines the vibrational frequency of the being at that point. It's a lower frequency vibration in the lower planes of consciousness. But at some point, the soul comes awake and you reconnect with the souls of life and you feel that amazing interconnectivity, peace, tranquility, spaciousness, timelessness, and the simple joy of being. What we need to do is to realize that what we're really engaged upon is not an external journey through life, but rather an internal one. And that the internal journey is reflecting through the outer consequences of our life. As we encounter certain circumstances, they challenge us. They get to trigger certain buttons and attachments inside where we feel like we want or need a particular outcome in life, or have an attachment to going a certain way, or an attachment in a relationship. So the circumstances are going to trigger those internal buttons. As you do that, that fragment of soul that was identified as attached is liberated, is integrated back into the mainstream of soul, and now is flowing again with the mainstream. And so more of that energy can now start rising into consciousness, rising vibration. It's important that we don't deny the situations of circumstances that come up, even if they're inconvenient at that time. So really what it is a direct confrontation of anything that comes up. Not pushing anything away, not denying anything, but working it into all those areas, all those triggers, just winding it through and letting go and progressively integrating. And that's how the soul progressively rises in vibration. It's like a hot air balloon rising, and as it rises, internally it pulls on that tethering, and as it does, becomes active. Then that manifests and reflects into the outer environment and creates mirroring circumstances. These mirroring circumstances then trigger off this internal tightness and conditioning. And if we can let that go, then that fragment of soul can integrate, and steadily then the soul becomes more integral within our being. And rather than being attached and embedded within these densities, like a sponge soaking up water, rather than being embedded in that way, the soul begins to release itself and expand out of those various densities, expand through them. So now there's more consciousness liberating itself to steadily start rising through the dimensions. The soul is beginning to animate other frequencies of being. And this is what it means to be raising your vibration. What kind of practices will facilitate you raising your vibration? Firstly, being an observer of oneself. So you can start to unravel attachment, the need for an outcome in the material world. Obviously, meditation will help greatly with that. You are constantly, internally inquiring, and feeling the sacred ground of being, which is at the core of you. This becomes more and more of your reason for being, rather than requiring some kind of outcome in the externals. Meditation is core of that. And also breathing meditation. In addition, meditations that you wouldn't expect to be so, like dance and movement and deep consciousness bodywork, like Tai Chi and yoga. There's also purifying your life, getting rid of excess distraction, social media or clutter, purifying your diet, because the soul gets stuck in the denser vibrations and all you need to do is relinquish, let go of that. Purification in your diet is going to allow the vibration of your soul to permeate more strongly. What you infuse, what you put into your consciousness, what you watch, what you engage in, what you fill up with, it's time to let go. It's all about emptying it out. So these are some simple methods. Simple but effective, and not always easy. These are a few simple and effective methods to progressively integrate soul and raise your vibration. At some point you realize that you're living in two worlds, not one. There's the lower self that you've been interconnected to, where the ego has been active, has been plugged into society. And then there's the higher self. And the higher self is interconnecting with everything around you through signs and synchronicity, through inner guidance, through intuitions, through higher dimensional knowings. You are more responding to a deeper meaning of life rather than the lower densities. You get to realize that you're living in two worlds, not one. And that's when your vibration begins to settle in this middle realm. If that is your destiny, if that's your pull, and that's the destiny of humanity at this time, then it begins to settle in those densities. Now you're living in this world, but you're not of this world anymore. You are reading it on a different plane of consciousness. Everything has a deeper meaning and a message that really is reflecting something back to you about who and what you are being and what you can be. Because everything is about self-realization. That's what the reflections are showing you. You're reading that. You're picking that up as an internal frequency, feeling, vibration. You're working now more on that plane of consciousness, although still here. At some point, there will be the shift, the completion of the shift, which is the breakdown of the physical and the transmutation, the transformation into the middle realms, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh densities. At this point, the physical is literally going to break down and fall away. It's not as if the physical is raising its vibration into 5D consciousness. If you put 5D consciousness through every cell of this physical body, it would most likely explode. It's not about raising frequency of this body. It's about shifting your frequency internally. As the shift completes and the lower densities are cleansed, which is what is unfolding and happening right now, then you carry on, the physical falls away, and you carry on with the spirit light body, but in the middle realms. Progressively, vibration rises as your soul consciousness expands into higher dimensions. Then ultimately the physical will fall away with the great cleansing, with the great purification that's coming to earth. The physical will fall away and you carry on in the higher dimensional vehicles, in the spirit body for example, into the fifth, sixth and seventh densities. You are now in the new paradigm. My name is Marlia and this is my true voice. You can find more tutorials sharing mindfulness and heartfulness through music, yoga, meditation, sacred movement on the onlinehomeacademy.eu community platform. Have you found your true voice?
This is not the end.